Nigeria's COVID-19 infections hit all-time high per day as NCDC confirms 66 new
Senate local content bill to improve non-oil sectors of the economy scales second reading.
House of Representatives raises concerns over illegal movement of herdsmen into Nigeria.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss 5 years of Buhari administration, focus on rail development.
All right, the Buhari administration has been widely commended for its commitment to the completion of infrastructure projects begun by previous administrations, particularly rail projects across the country.
That's right, Kingsley, and the Nigerian rail project, built by British colonialists more than a century ago, was abandoned at some point and left dilapidated for many years. And the previous attempts to resuscitate the system remained unsuccessful until the commissioning of the Abuja-Kaduna rail by President Muhammadu Buhari in July 2016.
And since the completion of the Abuja-Kaduna standard gauge rail line, the route has become, as it were, a much safer alternative for travelers from the nation's capital to Kaduna, particularly when the highway became insecure at some point last year.
Very true indeed. And another major rail project completed and commissioned under the Buhari administration is the Abuja Metro Rail, which runs from the Abuja International Airport to the city center. The project, which was commissioned in July 2018, also links the Abuja-Kaduna Railway. But that's a major development.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. You know, that rail line you just mentioned cuts across Kogi, Edo, and Delta states, and it's been completed after 25 years of work. And although the Lagos-Ibadan rail project is yet to be completed, some passengers enjoyed free rides last year after a test run of the train facility from Iju in Lagos to the Ibadan axis, where the rail tracks have been completed.
And the federal government is also planning to construct a line from Abuja to Itabe to link the FCT and Delta State by rail. That is one interesting project to look forward to. Don't you think so, Kingsley?
Absolutely, Kirian. And as part of the efforts to decongest the ports, the Nigerian Railway Corporation has begun cargo operations at Apapa Port, that's in Lagos, and 2 batches of cargo are being conveyed daily with the prospect of increasing the batches to 4 in the nearest future.
And many accolades to the current administration and the rail sector indeed. And now, how challenging has it been working to link major parts of the country by rail? What are the crucial and critical interventions of the federal government so far in the rail sector? And how is the government planning to tackle the challenges of overcoming or overcrowding and ticket racketeering in train stations? We will, of course, go deeper into these issues and, of course, others that may develop in the course of the program. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria once again. This Wednesday, of course, we are on the 10th of June, right, 2020. My name is Kirian Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and it's always our pleasure to welcome you to the program, as always, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and we're right here at the Abuja headquarters studios. In the course of the program, we shall bring you our regular companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, and others. In the meantime, let's now join Musbah Udan Wahab for the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Musbah.
It's a very good morning, Kingsley and Kirian. Let's take the news. In its highest number of cases recorded per day so far, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 663 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The new confirmed cases released late last night raises the total number to 13,464 with 170 cases. Lagos has the highest number in the breakdown, while Ogun has 108. Others are Bauchi with 69 cases, Ebonyi 49, Edo 33, Rivers 30, with the FCT and Jigawa recording 26 cases each. Delta has 20, Anambra 17, while Gombe and Kano have 16 new cases each. Imo recorded 15 new cases, Abia 14, Borno and Oyo 11 cases each. Plateau 8 and Kebbi and Kaduna have 6 new cases each. There are 4 new cases in Ondo, Niger and Katsina recorded 2 each, while Osun, Ekiti, Kwara and Nasarawa have a case each. Lagos remains top on the COVID-19 table with 6,063, followed by Kano with 1,020 cases, closely trailed by the FCT with 1,012 COVID-19 cases. So far, 4,206 recovered patients are being discharged, with 365 deaths recorded. There is an ongoing community transmission of COVID-19 in the Federal Capital Territory, with a total number of confirmed cases across the 6 area councils of the territory between 1st and 7th of June this year, standing at 220. With this reality, FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello says the area council's chairmen, traditional and religious leaders now have more than before have the task to intensify massive sensitization in their domain.
The virus has escaped. It has escaped into the communities. The only way we can stop this is to work very closely with you to push through the issue of education and knowledge about how to protect ourselves and our communities.
The onus of spreading the information on COVID-19 at the grassroots levels falls heavily on the shoulders of the area council administration, as well as the traditional and religious institutions within the territory.
Kaduna State government has lifted the dawn-to-dusk lockdown imposed on the state. Worship centers are now to open on Fridays and Sundays. Also, business activities are to reopen, subject to compliance with all the prevention protocols in all facilities. Now to the National Assembly, where the Senate is considering a bill that seeks to establish departments of local content in all ministries, departments and agencies of government. The bill, which has passed second reading, is a major step towards improving non-oil sectors of the Nigerian economy.
This bill embodies the legal framework to replicate and extend these principles for development of Nigerian content embodied in Logic Act 2010 to other sectors of the economy beyond oil and gas.
The development of local content in other sectors outside the oil and gas industry is a practical step that we are taking to ensure that other sectors of the economy, are developed.
Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to collaborate with countries in the ECOWAS sub-region to put a stop to illegal movements of herdsmen from other African countries into Nigeria due to security concerns.
When you go to most villages ranging from northeast, northwest, southeast, south-south, southwest, you will find these herdsmen attacking the villagers.
President Muhammadu Buhari has received more commendations for the nomination of Justice Monica Dongban Mensem as President of the Court of Appeal. The President sent the nomination to the Senate on 8th of this month for the confirmation of Justice Dongban Mensem, who is presently acting. Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, who gave a commendation, praised the President for giving women equal opportunity as their male counterparts in his administration and appointing women to handle prominent and sensitive positions.
A woman who just left, and we have another woman. That is to say, the women are coming up. Our prayer is that we'll continue to encourage them. Just like the CJN, she has to complement, she has to do everything to restore the image of the judiciary.
Governor Abdullahi Sule has led a delegation of Nasarawa State to express appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari for approving the federal government's takeover and funding of Farin Ruwa Dam project in the state. The delegation was in Abuja to convey the appreciation through the Water Resources Minister, Suleiman Adamu.
Close to a waterfall, we have the opportunity to have all kinds of agricultural activities, whether it is rice or cassava or sugarcane, of anywhere between 15 to 30,000 hectares easily in this area because of the kind of soil that we have.
And the president not only approved it at that point, he ordered the immediate release of 700 million naira for the project.
On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has confirmed the receipt of notice and the conduct of party primaries from 15 political parties for the Edo governorship election. Out of the 15 political parties, 14 are conducting their primaries through indirect method, while only the APC is conducting its primaries through direct on the 22nd of June, while PDP, which is going for indirect method, scheduled 8 for the 19th of June. A statement by the INEC National Commissioner for Information, Festus Okoye, appeals to the political parties to conduct their primaries within the stipulated time of between 2nd and 27th June 2020. That concludes the news highlight for now. Good morning, Nigeria. On 5 years of Buhari administration, focus on rail development will continue after this break with Kingsley and Kirian. I am Musbal and Wahab. Good morning.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. In this time of despair, our country, Nigeria, needs us now more than ever. We stand a chance to save our great country, Nigeria, a chance to rise up from this pandemic stronger and better. What will be the gain if we do not learn from other countries and observe the lockdown to stop the further spread of the virus? If we loosen our guards and allow this virus doom our very existence, then what have we gained? This is the call to every Nigerian to unite as one and stop the spread of this deadly virus. Stay at home and stay safe. Remember, the virus doesn't move unless we move. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for us to take some business stories, and here is Kolo Mohammed.
Good to know you're there. The effect of the coronavirus pandemic on the viability of the lives and living patterns of the globe, especially regarding businesses, has taken divergent dimension of toll on different sectors. For the airlines, the Minister of State Aviation says immobility means running bills, as even when airplanes do not fly, they cost even more to maintain.
The airlines have suffered so much. They're all on the ground, and you know when you keep an airplane on the ground, it will be running costs. And some of the, like suggested, some of the parts come by either usage or calendar time, whichever comes first. So we'll be needing to change some of this. We'll be needing to service the airplanes. We'll be needing even the flight crew, the cabin crew, and everybody that had to do anything on the airplane is licensed, and this license will be falling short, will be falling due, at the time when we're opening.
Palliatives have been pronounced and handed out in favor of major sectors. Unfortunately, auxiliary sectors seem to have not been taken into consideration. Take, for instance, the catering units at airports, the travel agencies, the consortium of ground handlers, then.
All right, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. And of course, what comes up next is a newspaper review.
Bayo Atebe, our newspaper reviewer, is with us on the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Kyria.
Yeah, Bayo, it's good to have you again today.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Kyria, let's
now, yes, okay. Now, the Nation newspaper. The Nation, above the nameplate, to have some stories there, headlines rather. Nigeria records highest COVID-19 cases. NCDC announces 663. The story is on page 5. Nemasa. Pirates working with foreign allies. That's on page 3, as UN hails agency and the Navy. Estimated bidding, NEC, to punish Kano, Kaduna, Discos, and others. That story can be read fully on page 25. And below the name, please, and the lead story, for that matter, the lead story of the Nation newspaper. Reps back Ganduje's call to block foreign headers. With the rider, Speaker urges panel to interface with security agencies. Other stories below that, El Rufai relaxes lockdown. Jigawa gets new testing lab. Ondo has unique intervention. Oguntodas ignore face masks. Oni gives the Abia 2 fumigators. Wike declares Bonny epicenter. And more on pages 6 and 29. That's where you get these stories. Now, Lagos APC bans mandate group. Justice Forum is on page 8. And below the photo story here, Edo 2020. Obaseki is there, EM, others face screening panel. So it's on page 8. It has 2 or 3 riders. NWC's decision final, says Oshomole. Ondo 2020, APC begins sale of forms. Stakeholders oppose APC Northeast Zonal meeting. It's on page 29. Headers sack farmers. It's on page 4. Kinsley.
Okay, the next paper for us is the Leadership newspaper. Leadership, below the nameplate, comes with a kicker. Anti-piracy war. UN commends NIMASA and Nigerian Navy. Says country sending strong and valuable message to the world. And below that, you have this headline, Burundi President Pierre Nkurunziza dies at 55. That's on page 2. He was undergoing treatment for coronavirus. Unfortunately, he had a heart attack. Lawyers and CSOs divided over special court for rapists. With 2 riders, first ladies to brief governors as women protest rising rape cases. Man, 35, to be arraigned over rape of own daughter. And then on the right side, it says COVID-19, federal government to prosecute supermarkets and pharmacies over price hike as EU donates 25 metric tons of medical equipment to Nigeria. Academics and lawyers to screen Obaseki and others for Edo APC governorship primary. Comes with a rider, NWC, that's the National Working Committee, will reject outcome of screening if, and that's attributed to Shomole, the national chairman of the party. And also there on the front page, it says WTO, that's World Trade Organization, accepts President Buhari's nominee for Director General, and that's Okonjo-Iweala, Nigeria's former finance minister. CBN to fund 1.6 million cotton farmers in 2020 planting season. That's page 15. Mother of 13 gives birth to quadruplets in Zaria. Mother of 13 gives birth to quadruplets in Zaria. So they're now up to 17.
Yes.
13 plus 4 equals to 17 from one woman. Congratulations. COVID-19. Nigeria records 663 cases, highest daily figure ever. NERC, that's Electricity Regulatory Commission, gives DISCOs 14 days to comply with capping of unmetered customers.
Yes, let's start with the COVID-19. If you recall, at the beginning of the week, when we were reported 368 cases, we were lamenting that was the highest, not knowing that that will be surpassed. So today we have 663, and that has brought our total to 13,464. There are pushes that emanate from this. Now, coming just 1 week after the 4 weeks of easing down, we just spent 1 week of the 4 weeks. Is it a factor of the easing down, or is it a factor of more testing, and we are discovering more of the coronavirus cases? But let's look back. When we first had the index case on February 27, the projection was that by March, Nigeria would have registered 2,000. By March 31st, Nigeria had 135. That was about 6.5% of the projection. As at July, the projection was that Nigeria will register between 90 to 120,000. At the end of July, we still have not reached the end of July. We are now in June, and we're already at 13,464. Like the president remarked early last week, that, well, we are not doing too badly compared to what is happening in the United States and Europe. However, if we observe those measures critically, health measures, we will be able to contain the situation. Otherwise, we risk a danger of heightening. Going across the country now, Gombe yesterday tested its commissioners. 12 commissioners were tested, and 3 of them tested positive. One governor's aide also tested positive, and 5 members of the State House of Assembly have also tested positive. Meanwhile, Kaduna State is easing up its lockdown. They have now said that churches can open only on Sundays within the guided guidelines. Also, mosques can only open only for Friday prayers. The 5 daily prayers are, for now, prohibited until things improve. But they have also taken initiative to open up some businesses. This includes transport, and the initiative here is that transporters will now convey 50% of their passengers, and usually on the bench there should not be more than 2 of the passengers. That is in the area of COVID-19. The other information or news that has dominated the nation again is the incidences of rape. In Cross River State, over 500 women have demonstrated, and they are calling and challenging women that we should begin to speak out against rape. And not only that, we should also join the women in bringing up our boys' children to understand that rape is a crime and they should not indulge in it. And they are saying that our wearing of miniskirts does not mean yes. No means no. Meanwhile, in FCT, 35-year-old man has been charged to court for raping his own daughter. Also in Ogun State, another 35-year-old man.
His own daughter?
Yes.
That is insanity.
Yes. And in Ogun State, another 35-year-old man has been charged to court for raping a physically challenged person. So rape is on the high. And first ladies are now prevailing upon governors who are by now preparing for their 10th teleconference. And the chairman, Nigeria Governors Forum, Governor of Ekiti State, has said that he's going to prevail upon his colleagues that a state of emergency be declared as far as rape is concerned. One of the measures he has suggested is that prerogative of mercy should not be given to rape cases.
Exactly. You know, I don't know. When it comes to of course, we have always said, you know, that there is enough, provisions, in the law to take care of rape cases. But the point is, there are other challenges with respect to prosecution, with respect also to the victims coming out in good time. I will also respect also to the fact that you don't have to destroy the evidence, before you take your case to the police and what have you. So investigation becomes difficult along the line. So according to what the DCP Frank Mbah told us sometime last week.
Yes, and like Kingsley read from leadership now, there's an argument between lawyers now whether or not the courts we have now are sufficient enough to trap rape cases, or there should be a special court to handle rape cases because it's going on. There's been an insurgency.
I don't think you require special courts to try rape cases. For election offenses, you require special courts. For corruption, you require special courts. For rape, you require special courts. Rape is a serious offense. And the courts, are equipped to deal with those cases. The critical aspect, as Kieran just recalled, has to do with diligent prosecution. And happily, sometime last week, Frank Mbah was here, and he gave us an insight, and of course for the benefit of our viewers, as to why sometimes investigation is impaired on account of tampering with the evidence. And he advised rape victims on what to do. In fact, not just rape victims, but family members and associates of rape victims on what to do. Plus, the public sensitization is also required. There has to be a campaign against the epidemic of rape we're having in our country. But beyond that, it's also important that agencies or civil society organizations involved in this should undertake research. Why are we having this spike in rape cases? Just why? Rape plus incest. I think it's valuable to understand why it is happening. I mean, you can't just blame coronavirus. Coronavirus is a 2020 phenomenon, but over the years we've been seeing a climb. And of course, I'm sure everybody knows that South Africa, on the African continent, has the highest number of rape cases.
Yes.
And then in India,
yes,
India also has that. So, but for us in Nigeria, have we undertaken any studies?
This issue of studies and research and all of that, see, it's a crime. And for anybody who engages that knew what the issue that is a crime, that's why they force you to intimidate you. Do you understand? So even if the characters are fine and good, the point is that the campaign may not necessarily stop the person who does that. These things are innate in people, people who do. There are persons who will say, look, I don't enjoy sex without raping. It is there. That's been established over there, like this reported out in South Africa and in India. They'll tell you. So the point is that if the law is strong and we are prepared to prosecute them, and with all the issues we have raised, that impair, prosecution and all of that, should be dealt with. And if that happens, then people should be going to jail for rape.
Bayo, I mean, it's almost time for us. The stories that we don't seem to see on our front pages of Nigerian newspapers is what happened in Minneapolis on the 25th of last month, when a police officer knelt for almost 9 minutes on the neck of George Floyd. And of course, George Floyd said he couldn't breathe. I can't breathe. That's become the famous phrase around the world. And George Floyd, of course, died under the knee of that police officer. George Floyd was buried yesterday in Houston, Texas. Now, Kieran, of course, you recall we were discussing this sometime last week. There has also been around the world, mostly now in the UK and elsewhere in the US, there's been a rise against racism, whether institutionalized or otherwise. And in the UK, they followed up with this by tearing down the statues of those so-called businessmen centuries ago who were slave dealers.
Exactly, and there's even across the globe, even in Italy, you know, people are really protesting across the globe, in Europe and the Americas. And of course, this racism in America, especially with respect to the African Americans, is becoming unbearable. I mean, it's been there over the years. In fact, Governor Cuomo of New York, had to reel out the number of such cases, from the 80s, to the 21st century.
Well, the challenge now for United States now is that it will even become an issue that will determine the next election, which is coming up in November, because everybody is outraged by the level of racism that is institutionalized. However, the disposition of the current administration in the United States that seems to apparently have been brought into power by the right wing in America is a little bit lukewarm, and that is why it is very worrying.
Absolutely.
And ironically, the guy was arrested based on the fact that he presented a $20 that was fake. It was found that that dollar was not fake.
Absolutely. He just killed it.
So they killed the man in vain.
In vain.
It's unfortunate that this has happened. If you recall, in year 2001, the United Nations organized a global conference against racism in Durban, South Africa. Unfortunately, the outcomes of that conference were overshadowed by 9/11. And thereafter, global attention shifted to the fight against terrorism rather than against racism. I think the world has to go back to the outcomes of that conference in Durban in 2001. Bayo Atoyebe, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you too.
See you again tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get ahead with our item for discussion this morning.
Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person who affects two persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the two persons have affected four, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Now, believe this corona, you fit touch black man. If you like, gather the whole Niger, come together, make the cough. Nothing.
Which one you want?
Give me V&D.
I beg, get small pieces.
How much you want to give him?
Give me 200. Take your change now. You don't want your change.
My people, this coronavirus, na serious matter. May una wash una hands regularly. Come use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. If you no see water, wash your hand. Make una sit down for house. You see this virus, so it no get leg. Now we dey waka kurukere. no waka around make the virus for die. No forget say the betterment of our people na for your hand e dey.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Well, we're glad to have you up to this moment as we bring you Wednesday's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. And our discussion this morning is on 5 years of Buhari administration and the development of the rail sector. That's actually part of a transportation sector. And Kunle Adeye has a report on the journey so far.
With different rail projects abandoned in the country for decades, the task of reviving this aspect of transportation was a challenge for the administrations that made attempts. But the resilience of President Muhammadu Buhari administration has ensured that the rail sector is revived, functioning and linking major parts of the country. 3 major rail projects inherited from previous administrations have been completed and commissioned. One of these is the Abuja Metro Rail, which connects the city center to the airport and the Abuja-Kaduna Rail Station. The administration has also embarked on the first transnational railway project, that is to link Nigeria-Jibia border town with Maradi in the Niger Republic. A 4th rail project, the Lagos-Ibadan Rail Project, kicked off in 2017 and is due to be completed in 2020. Some of the other rail projects include the Takwe-Warri Rail Line, which cuts across Kogi, Edo and Delta states. It was initially constructed in the 80s to export iron ore through the port in Warri, but it has been converted to a passenger route for movement of goods and passengers to improve the country's economy. Most train stations on that route are almost complete, and the service, which terminates at a port in Warri, has not yet been opened to the public. The track laying for the main component of the Lagos-Ibadan Rail project was completed in March 2020 despite challenges, while workers are set to be putting finishing touches on the stations between Iju in Lagos and Ologweru in Ibadan. The test run was done successfully and some passengers have already enjoyed government-approved free rides on the route. The federal government has also indicated that 5,000 jobs will be created upon completion of the railway wagon assembly plant being built in Kajola, Ogun State, saying Nigeria will also, in the long run, be able to manufacture rolling stock for the country's use as well as for other African countries. So, how well has the administration fared in its attempts to link major parts of the country by rail? How challenging has it been with funding and attempts to meet deadlines? All these issues and more will be tabled before guests shortly.
Many thanks, Kunle Adeye, for that background report. With us in the studios now to discuss this issue in further detail, let's welcome Mrs. Alice Acho. She is the Acting Secretary of the Transport Secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory. Mr. Acho, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
Also here with us in the studios, we would like to welcome Mani Ochugboju. Mani Ochugboju is a lawyer and also a transportation consultant, a regular guest, usually on transport matters. Pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
And here in Abuja is Iro Damfoloti. I hope I got that correctly. He is a regular train passenger and will share his experiences with us on the program today. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Morning.
And joining us via Skype from Lagos is Fidet Okiria, of course, the Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation. So it's a pleasure to have you this morning with us.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, the Skype connection is good, so might as well begin the conversation with Engineer Fidet Okiria of the Nigerian Railway Corporation. Engineer Fidet, I mean, give us a sense of what has happened in 5 years in terms of infrastructure expansion as well as service utilization of the Nigerian rail system. You may wish to start from whichever part of the country or whichever project.
Thank you. I think I'm quite happy, and I think Nigerians are also happy that the dream we have been dreaming of is coming true and coming to reality. When the administration came in 5 years ago, they took Abuja Kaduna seriously. Completed it in 2016, operation started, and is now the darling of Nigerians, especially those who fly between Abuja and Kaduna. And without missing word, the government and the minister have taken this thing as a personal, just taking personal interest on it and ensuring that results are achieved. In order to reduce the cry and clamor and the persistent news of ticket racketeering, coaches were ordered, and as we speak, 2 locomotives, 5 coaches have already arrived at Abuja, while additional 5 and the set of DMU are in Papalanto, waiting to be moved to Abuja. Because of the nature of the way we move them, we have to move 5 at a time. 5 arrived Abuja last week, Wednesday. They were offloaded, and the truck has returned back to Lagos, and it will load another 5. At the same time, the Itakbe Warri was taken up seriously, and before COVID, we were still running trial run because of the few coaches we had. And we are trying to, because that route could be good for freight, we are trying to see how we can cooperate with Dangote to move cement from Obajana to the south. And we have already what we call container wagons that you can use to load CBS. And as we speak, we have also gotten additional 10 locomotives and 2 locomotives and 10 coaches to service that route, plus the 5 we already have on ground. When COVID permits, I think the commercial operation will start. Luckily, the station has been completed, and in a short distance, operation will start on that route. Then we talk about Lagos-Kano. People forget that the contract that was awarded in 2007 was Lagos-Kano, and it was just there on paper. And luckily, this government came and took Lagos-Ibadan's first segment. As we speak, we have, before COVID, we have moved the train on trial. That is the set of DMU from Ebute Metta Junction to Moniya in Ibadan. That is the end of that first segment. Why their plan was that either by May 29th or June 12th, that service would have been flagged off officially. God knows and nature knows, and COVID came in, and the workers have to take a dive and ensure safety first. As we speak, what is remaining is to connect the standard gauge line from Ebute-Metta Junction to the port. Some basic engineering work has been done and is finishing a lane of track. At the same time, the second track from Agege, because of the flyover at Pensilema, they will have to give some time for them to finish that so that they can lay the second track from Agege to Ebute-Metta Junction. Why we have been working on the narrow gauge, doing operation from Lagos to Kano, trying to support the evacuation of containers from the port. And we're also moving from Aba to Port Harcourt. That is 2 return trips on daily basis. And as we speak, the bridge at Emene between, that is immediately after Enugu, that has affected our movement towards up north to Kano. The piles have just been finished and track is being laid. And we hope by the time we come back and the interstate movement is lifted, this will be able to start our operation again from that Port Harcourt end. So far, so good. And the other thing the government have done is finalize the contract of the segment from Ibadan to Kano that will be divided into 3 segments to be done simultaneously. Ibadan, Ilorin, Minna, Minna to Abuja, and Kaduna to Kano. Why there is an arrangement of a PPP arrangement to link from Itakbe to Abuja, so that somebody can travel from south across to Abuja, and if Kaduna Abuja is linked, then you can now travel from south to Kano. What is on ground now is how to improve and remove costs and gradients on the narrow gauge. We have done before now some rehabilitation on the narrow gauge. But what the difference between this and is that the alignment curve will be reduced to radius at least 600 meters, and the gradient will be reduced to 1%. So that's where we are, while we are looking for the funds to move the Lagos, Calabar, standard gauge Port Harcourt, Manduguri. During this time, contract has been awarded for the supply of other rolling stock for freight, because what we have received now are for passengers movement. But 280 wagons, we are still expecting them, various, that can move freight. So that is only when we know we have really come back to business of movement of freight, because we have to reduce the heavy azo load on the road, and it's only when we achieve that the road will be safe for Nigerians. And the peace of mind that goes with functional rail operation will now come to Nigerians. So far, that's where we are, and hopefully things will be better. And if, as I've been saying, you cannot do all at a time, I think it's advisable we do it one after the other. And Nigerians should exercise patience. If we continue like this, one day it will get to every part of all the states and major towns and production centers. So the idea of saying one government can finish it is not possible. So infrastructural development is taken step by step, planned, and so that you can get a realistic project management. Thank you.
All right. We thank you, Fidet. Let me take you back a little bit. I'm happy, really, that what I've explained shows that the plan for rail line in Nigeria will touch all parts of this country. I'm happy also to mention my state, Enugu, because it used to be a major state when it comes to rail in Nigeria. Now, you told me a story on another platform, on NTA, with respect to the fact that you have a good background knowledge of Nigeria Railway Corporation. You having served railways in 1987. Now, some Nigerians, in fact, many Nigerians want to believe that whatever rail projects that are being completed at by this administration, most of them were started, and some will tell you it has gone 70%, 80%, that this government is just there to complete and what have you. And one of such is Kaduna Abuja Rail. Now, give us an idea of what this administration has done in terms of the contracting, in terms of being serious in to achieve the objective of re-establishing and bringing back rail transport in Nigeria. What did it do differently from previous administrations? Because you having been working in railways in 1987, you must have, of course, met other administrations before this administration. What is different between what this administration has done and the previous ones did? I want you to clear this because I want sort of, if we're going to apportion blame or perhaps credit, to some person or one administration or the other, let us be clear about it. So we'd like you to clear the air on that. At what point did this administration take over most of those projects that you talked about?
So thank you. I think what really happened is that in this administration, people have put their personal interests behind and trying to put the national and the people's interests at the uppermost level. What I mean by that is that Kaduna Abuja was almost completed, and the minister was going there almost on daily basis and ensuring that those equipments were personally supervised and ensure that, for instance, what was disturbing that was the hospital owned by the Catholic Church. So the minister had to address it on one-on-one basis with the people and the owner of the churches, met with the Federal Capital Territory, met with government, and provided the necessary things to enable that impediment be removed. And so when you have this leader that is putting national interests above all other interests, those of us working with him have to copy and learn and try to push it forward. I think that is just the major change. You see, sometimes you advertise a contract, at the end you don't get it. Maybe people are putting their personal interest to it. So we have learned that it is what you do now. If you do it today, even when you don't benefit, your children will benefit because it's on grant. And we are at least making those sacrifices to ensure that it's on grant. For instance, if he has told us that no matter what you do, by the time you stoop low and start compromising with your contractor, either the quality or the time to deliver will go down. I think that is what drives this administration to achieve these results. The Lagos-Ibadan that we started, if not by COVID, the monitoring, the technical people were doing it every 2 weeks, and the minister was doing it at least once a month. Sometimes it comes twice a month, and ensure that when the timeline are set, you must meet it. And it was transparently driven. So those are the things, human being and the way you relate with your contractor and the way you try to say protect the interests of the country. And they are human beings, they will see it and see that it's clear, and there is no need to cut corner. So they will try and deliver. I think that is a major thing I've learned from this present management of the railway, of the transport ministry, and we can't do otherwise. We just have to queue in and ensure that the project is delivered. And when it's not delivered, you will be you have sleepless night because the minister will not allow you to rest. And we just have to put the national interests at that level and put individual and personal interest behind, because for the good of the majority is the good for all. And when the majority are benefiting, eventually it will reflect on you. It's a simple thing. I think that's what we have done differently, and that's what is giving us this results that we are having. And that is the listening to those, at least, who have the knowledge of the industry. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Engineer Fidel Tuhiria. Let's now return to the Abuja studios. Earlier, we introduced Mrs. Alisa Chu. She's Acting Secretary of the Transport Secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory. I mean, listening to Engineer Fidel Tuhiria, you'd say he has itemized what, in his opinion, those factors that account now for the momentum that we are seeing in infrastructure development with regard to rail. The Abuja Light Rail is part of the Abuja Master Plan. And over the years, of course, the system had been on in terms of project execution, but the rail system as a transport means wasn't functioning. What we have seen it operate now, what went right and what is still going right and what is left to be done?
Well, I think I'll agree with Mr. Ohiria that the focus and determination to bring governance to the people is what has brought, has given birth to the success story that we are now talking about. The Abuja Rail Mass Transit Project commenced in, was supposed to have started in 2009. It actually, and to be completed in 2011. But by the time this administration came in 2015, it was at about 55 or 50% completion. And the Honorable Minister of the FCT looked at it and felt that that's one of the areas in which he could achieve ready success. And I'll give kudos to him for his focus. He looked at it, looked at the benefits derivable from it, and decided that he'll go the whole haul. And within that short period, he was able to bring it to completion in 2018, and it was commissioned by the President in July.
What was the magic wand?
Well, the magic wand is funds. And when you have the funds, because I don't know if you're aware that that's a project that was done with a loan from the Chinese Exim Bank. What he did was that we paid our counterpart funds as at when due. And because we paid our counterpart funds, we're able to draw down from the Exim Bank.
Okay, I think the point is this. The project was awarded in 2009.
Yes.
To be completed in 2011.
Yes.
By 2015, it was just 50%. All right. So, because I was asking you what is the magic wand, I think it's a focus, and ensuring that it is delivered. All right. Thank you. Let's bring in Mani Chiwago, who is a rail consultant. You've listened to Engineer Ohiria and Madam, and you've also been following events and developments in the rail sector since this administration came to power in 2015. I used to hear Lagos, Ibadan rail line, for over 20, what is 20? About over 30 years now, I've been hearing about that rail line, and well, we are happy that Engineer Ohiria is saying that, look, that work has almost been completed in the place. So what's your own assessment of this administration with respect to rail line development in the country?
Before now, I would have happily agreed with my friend Fidet and my sister Alice, very happily. Well, we are doing some good work. I say before now, meaning before COVID pandemic, which in itself is a revolutionary period in the whole world. The urgency by which we should be taking issues is no issues of health and infrastructure. How we take health is how we should be taking road, rail, and other transportation infrastructure. That is how we should be taking power infrastructure, water infrastructure. That is how we should be taking our educational infrastructure, which is social infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure. Because it's now open to us now that it's now a life and death revolutionary era we are in. Why am I saying pandemic era? Pandemic era, for example, have shown the frailties globally of most institutions and most structures, and the urgency by which we should tackle them. I give you one example, just one that is relevant to railway or transportation. We needed to go and evacuate Nigerians from Canada. I think it's public knowledge. And the Canadian government had the cheek to say to us, particularly to Peace Airline or Peace Airways, can you guys fly internationally? And I love the answer Allen Onyema gave. Allen Onyema looked at these Canadians and said to them, that is laughable. We've been doing international flights. Now that is somebody who is showing competence in an area. It is transportation. Can we look at the Chinese and the Americans, particularly the Americans who came to say they want to do railway in Nigeria and ran away like a thief in the night? Can we look at those Americans and say, this is laughable, asking us if we can manage and run our railway line to international practice standards, to international best practices? It is laughable. Can we say that in railway? Can we say that in waterways? Can we say that in aviation? I know we're not talking aviation today, we're talking railway. But still, particularly on railway, can we say that to them? If we cannot say that to them, then our assessment of where we are has to be moderated. It has to be moderated. I know it's all well and good. We have some success stories. Fidet and I have been working on some projects for the last 4 or 5 years, and he knows. So I won't criticize him unfairly. But look at the Americans coming to Nigeria, cap in hand, begging us when this regime started. I'm particular about the Americans because they came with some razzmatazz projects on how they will transform the 2 leading railway lines in Nigeria. The line from Lagos to Kano and the line from Port Harcourt through Enugu to Maiduguri. The narrow gauge.
I mean, there must be something that led to that. The doctor just ran away.
They ran away purely because of incompetence. They ran away purely because they could not keep to their promises of transforming the railway line. They didn't run away. Madam here said, money is the magic wand. Money is on the table for them. President Buhari will not deny you money. Amechi, respect to him, the minister, will get money from anywhere for any project in Nigeria. I've been in meetings with him, and I see the relentless drive. He will bang on doors. Even if you don't want him to see the president, he will see the president and come out with an answer same day. I know that bit for the minister. So the Americans could not run the railway line. They have no history of running a successful railway line. They came to Nigeria to lie to us. They couldn't do it. So that's an example of people coming from faraway countries and come and lie to us. That's sabotage. So Black Lives Matter, I heard you mentioning it. For Black lives to matter, we must transform our institutions, including railway, and we must focus on that urgency in transforming our railway lines. Back to the specific question, with due respect to Kyrian. The Ibadan-Lagos line, there are 2 lines, sir. FIDE doesn't make the distinction clearly. There's a narrow gauge, which was there from 1902-03, before any of us, exactly. So that narrow gauge that runs all the way to Kano, it's there, and it's still there, and it has its Lagos-Ibadan segment. Then there is the ambitious one that this administration started, which I do like. In fact, let me be honest, I love it. On paper, it's wonderful. Then the standard gauge. In fact, the Ibadan bit is even double lane. So you have 2 trains going this way and 2 trains coming this way. And in between, you have the old narrow gauge, allow the pass. Beautiful on paper. Excellent. But since this administration, how is the implementation? It was supposed to be an 18-month program from 2017. We were supposed to have it ready around September, October 2018. So if 2020, first quarter, they are telling us, oh, it's COVID. Come on, what COVID? What COVID? Those Chinese aren't working fast enough. They are not being efficient enough, if you ask me. Yes, it's a difficult terrain, I agree. But they have the money. The amount of money given to them in that small track is far more expensive than anywhere in Africa. Anywhere. Cost it. That was the mileage. 156 or 157? Okay, give it to them. 158 miles. All those billions. Go and check any railway track in Africa. Standard gauge. How much? But forget the money. So they have the money. The magic one, as Madam calls it. They have the magic one. Why are they not delivering? The minister, with due respect to him, is being misled every day. Oh, they will finish December 2018. And the minister will come on air. He's been here with you several times, Kieran, and he will say, the standard gauge, Lagos-Ibadan, will be completed in December 2018. Then you say, okay, first quarter, 2019. Second quarter, 2020. There is a problem there. I think Kieran may know the answers, but for me...
Mani, I mean, the point is that this is not that we are proffering answers. Incidentally, the Honorable Minister of Transport, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, was our guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Yeah. And on that day, that's the 29th of May, he disclosed that he was going to have a meeting with the president. Sorry, not with the president, that he had had a meeting with the president. The president had given him the marching orders again for work to resume on rail projects. And his chief concern was how to rally the contractors and indeed the workmen in this era of COVID-19 with all kinds of safety protocols in place. And for the Lagos-Ibadan project, I'm sure that Mani, you would have picked up some of the stories. There were compensation issues. Yeah. Compensation issues. And some of the communities had obstructed the workmen from continuing because they felt that the compensation had not been paid. And if you have such issues, time continues to run. So your deadline for completion gets to be shifted. Exactly. And so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that have come up. Your points are noted. But in terms of deliverables, we are saying that the milestones are coming on. I mean, the milestones were not there 5 years ago, but they are coming on. True or false?
Fair. It's true. It's true.
True or false? I didn't say fair, good. All right, Mani, let's pursue.
I concede the points.
Let's pursue in the meantime, Kieran.
Yes. Okay. Let's bring in Iro Danfoloti, a regular train passenger. In fact, we need to hear from you because you are a direct beneficiary of this latest development in the rail sector. So tell us your experiences. Of course, during the opening remarks that we made in this program, we talked about ticket racketeering and perhaps other vices that may have been, inhibiting efforts of the management to have a smoother operation. Tell us your story.
Thank you, Kieran. I started using the train services from the very day they started the commercial aspect of it. Well, that's on the 27th of July 2016. To date, I've not traveled to Kaduna or to Abuja by road since on the 27th of July 2016. I use the train almost like 4 or 5 times in a week in the corridor. There are a lot of challenges, or there are a lot of problems that you mentioned. The ticket racketeering. The only solution, let me be very brief on the ticketing issue. The only solution to this thing is we have to go the online ticket. Because at the time when this racketeering was all over the place, this one was in this, the number of coaches were too small for the number of passengers looking to use the train services. Because I will tell you this, a lot of time, once there is this chaos in the train station, the staffs, the railway staffs, the Nigerian Railway Corporation will now start posting the staffs, look, we are doing this, look, we are doing this, we are not. But the problem, the actual problem is the number of coaches are too small for the people, the passengers that want to use the train at a time. So we had that problem, they have that problem most of the time. It's not the people selling tickets. It's the supply is very much, is too small for the demand at the time. That's for the ticket racketeering. So my advice on that is we have to go online. Once we're online, nobody would know, you won't even see the money. You buy your ticket online from your bedroom, on your bed, and you just go to the train station. Now, apart from that, I have a lot other observations at the train stations, both Idu and Rigasa. I have been hammering on the security check at the train stations, the 2 train stations that I use every day. I will tell you, the MD is listening to me. For the last 1.5 years or 2 years, the scanning machine for the luggages and has not been working. So what we do is we just queue and just pass through the small, not even a gate, a door. None of our luggages are screened. So that's very risky for any public transport. So that's another aspect of my observation. You see, the other ones, the scanning machine, then again, a lot of problems on the infrastructure in the train stations. I'll tell you, in Idu, there is no official overnight parking space. None at all. There's one in Rigasa, which is quite small, can't take more than 20 cars. So the infrastructures, like when you come to Kubwa here, when you arrive Kubwa in the night, the whole place is dark, completely dark, completely. You can't even find your driver. Completely. All they need is just whether it's going to be whatever light, floodlight they want to put, they should. In Kaduna, thanks to Malam Nasir El-Rufai, he intervened at one time when there were a lot of problems at the train station in the night, and he came in. He now awarded a contract to put all the floodlights around the train station. So at least that has been solved. And but really, when you talk about infrastructure, we need to do a lot. we need to do a lot on the infrastructure.
Okay, Iro Donfolotu, thank you very much for the points that you have raised. Let's give Engineer Fidet Ohiria the opportunity of responding to those points, particularly with the complementary infrastructure at the stations. I mean, if the parking space is so limited, then what do you expect the meters and the greeters to do? And if there's no opportunity for overnight parking, I recall in 2016, yes, I was at the Kubwa station. Indeed, we took the train ride from Abuja to Kano, and then Abuja to Kaduna, and back to Abuja. We're dropping off at Kubwa. Everywhere, as Iro said at the time, was dark. No floodlight, no nothing. And almost 4 years later, the situation remains the same. Why is this so?
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's contribution and interest in rail. And the first thing is for us to be quite clear and sincere with our talk. My friend Mooney talked about America this, America that. We work together on that project. I, as a rail technocrat, himself as a consultant. And don't mess words when I say something. This has been my life. And they won. In our first meeting, I said that what we are trying to do is not going to work. And the minister still said it today that MD advised us that the concessionary route of a rail infrastructure, because the aim of a businessman is to see how much he is going to make. And when you talk about infrastructure, rail development, you are talking of providing service to the people, not in the volume of dollar or cent or naira, but the comfortability and the peace of mind and long life you are going to give to your citizen, which you cannot quantify in dollars, which is the average goal of a business setup and a businessman. So we'll leave that there. And as I said earlier, the greatest thing that this administration, at least, is leading to do, not with the business admin language, but the practical aspect, the true practical experience. That's why we have gotten that stage. Before now, you see people carry their laptop and torchlight and show vague knowledge about what they know. So in the actual sense, throughout the whole world, a measure about cost, you can check the cost and compare. The desert, this in America was, how much per kilometer? I think about $12 million per kilometer. So depending on what you want in your infrastructure, you don't take A for B. Even the coaches, you have to design your peculiar character of your people and put them there. The coach you ride in China cannot be the coach you ride in Nigeria, because we don't have the same size, we don't have the same weight, we don't have the same culture, where we don't have the same discipline. So you must put those things in designing your rail projects. And those things cost money. And if you, all these things, you just say Harvard, but when you ask them to justify it, they cannot do that. About the e-payments, thank God the Federal Executive Council has approved it, and with a provision that we should clear from NIDA, being the people that control the IT environment. And during this lockdown, we have to do virtual meeting and make sure we are able to secure that. At the point we are now, we are trying to finalize the financial, because a PPP arrangement, the financial closure, and then enter the agreement, and they will start to deploy. First, that covers Kaduna and Abuja. Then, on the lighting system, rail and transportation cannot do all. So we contacted with our friend, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, and as we speak, I was in Abuja last week, and I saw them deploying solar lights all the way from the, I don't know what they call that junction, to the station. While on our own, we are already putting more illumination at the platform and yard, and at the same time try to cover it with CCTV, so that somebody can be in the control room and monitor the yard, the hall, the ticket office, and all the And the system the e-ticketing is going to bring in is the ticket that will admit you to the platform to board the train, and it's also the ticket that will allow you have visits to leave the platform. And it's not going to be, you can't just do e-ticketing alone, because there are some people who will still come to the station and buy physically. You can't rule that one out, even in the US, in Europe, in France. So people see, if I travel, I still go to the station, I say, okay, I'm going to so place. Because you have to even plan your journey to know, and you have to sit down with them to plan your journey and know which train you are taking. There could be some percentage of people who will still come to the station and buy tickets. So at Rigasa, the station we have there is not a major station. The major station is going to be at Rigachuku, which is as big as the Idu station. Because when we take Idu, from presently Rigasa to Kano, so the station, the main station in Kaduna will be at Rigachuku, and it will reduce this pressure we are having. And with the introduction of the e-ticketing, and with the discipline that has been brought in by COVID, at least people will learn how to behave. Because if we come back now, we must try to maintain, I don't know, they say social distance, I would say physical distance, so that that discipline will be brought in. And when we start, we are not going to start full capacity. Maybe we have said the protocol should be 60% and no more standing. And luckily for us, we are deploying additional, 18 coaches and 4 locomotives. We are going to improve from the present timing to an hourly train, from 8 return trips to 14 return trips on Kaduna Abuja. So that's our target. And as I said earlier, 5 of those 18 coaches and 2 locomotives are already in our workshop at Idu, while the others are already on their way, because they are carried with specialized vehicle, the one they call extended trailer, and there are not many in Nigeria. So we are moving them in batches. And I will say, thank to government that are listening, thank to God is happening in our time, and thank to God that people will enjoy the benefit of what we are trying to put in place. I don't want to say, praise myself. I know I stretch myself day and night to ensure that things are working well. And I do it from my heart, and I think we are trying to copy our leader who try to do things without trying to boost their personal or everything. Just do it for the benefit of the people. Thank you.
All right, Engineer Hira. Actually, why the issues raised by Malam Danfuloti is very important is the fact that, look, it's taking some time before this transformation, right? And everybody will believe that, look, if it has taken this long to get to where we are, we should have taken care of other complementary infrastructure in the place. No haphazard arrangement. It's taking us a very long time. So whatever I want to do now has to be done comprehensively, so that we don't go back, back and forth trying to amend this and all that. Thank you indeed. We may have to come back to you as we move on. Now, Alice, actually, the Acting Secretary of Transport Secretariat. See, let me understand what the master plan is in Abuja, in our FCT, with respect to rail construction. I understand that well, the one that you mentioned earlier on is working at the moment. But I see some construction works going on in parts of FCT. And I said, some persons will tell me, look, this one is meant for rail. This area is meant for rail. But you look at that place, it's bare. Nothing is going on there. So the Abuja Rail Master Plan, is it in focus? Is this administration really attempting to do something about that?
Well, as we all know, Abuja is a planned city, and provision has been made. I think the total length of railway lines we're supposed to have is about 292 kilometers, and we've just done 45.245 or thereabout. Now, in the master plan, provision was made for 6 lots. The lot that has been constructed presently is lot 1A and 3. The most viable of these lots is the one that is going to the Nyanya Karo, that's lot 2. But because it was going to be capital intensive, very capital intensive, because there's supposed to be some tunneling, and things like that, for it to get to that. That's why the management of the FCT decided to start with the present one that has been achieved. So it's a matter of funds. We had taken, we had made a request to the National Assembly for the borrowing plan, which was set down. One of our lots was supposed to be in that borrowing plan. So if we have the money, definitely the plan is already on ground.
Is there no plan for investors to be brought in? Because, of course, if that project is completed in this country, there
are plans. Mr. Mani just told you that people make promises, they come here, they tell you fantastic stories, they go. I can't tell you the number of times I've had to listen to prospective investors. But the truth in it is everybody wants to see what he or she can get from government. Nobody really wants, because by the time you start discussing with them, you find out that the plan is not for them to bring in money, but to see what they can do. You'll be hearing PPP. The PPP is skewed towards the government. And you and I know that the money is not there.
Well, I would like you to explain further the question that Kirian posed in terms of the nature of the Abuja master rail system. Which one is working now? Happily, you mentioned Inyanya, which is of course going to be, we see the population explosion on that axis. We also see the traffic pressure on that axis. Is Kubwa part of it? Which other locations are on the plan? Which one is working now, and where else do you have the plans? And then what are the indications that, okay, fine, after the operation of this new plan, after the operation of this one that is working, our next target will be XYZ?
Okay. Presently, we have 12 stations built, running between the airport, Gwagwa, Basanjiwa, Idu, Wupa. The stations are already on ground, they are built. The tracks are laid. That's what constitutes the 45 plus kilometers that are built. And we are fully operational. What has kept the lines fallow till now is the fact that we don't have the trains on ground.
You don't have
the complete complement of trains. We're supposed to have 12 sets. But as we speak, thankfully, the first 2 sets are in Lagos.
Right now?
Oh, yes. We're expecting them at the end of June. By the time those trains are here, we'll expand our activities up to Kubwa. Through day, and all of these areas along that axis, right up to the airport. After the commissioning, the Honorable Minister didn't want the lines to be fallow, vandalizations, and so on. So the few, one coach, one DMU and 2 or 3 coaches that were used to test, for test driving, that's what we started using to ply the airports, Idu and Metro line.
Mrs. Achu, Kirian, I'm not a transport economist. So I will leave that aspect for you to explain, assuming you've been advised in this regard. The axis you just mentioned, maybe Kubwa, Dede, Airport. From just my observation, that would appear to me not to be where you have the most volume of passengers. If anything, on a daily basis, what you observe is that the traffic moves towards the central business district. from the various suburbs, from the various satellite towns. It is not necessarily to the airport. I mean, if you were to go to a major city like Lagos, for instance, you would see where the traffic is headed every morning, and where the traffic is coming out from is the island, and then, of course, plus Ireland, of course, incorporating Lagos Island, Victoria Island, Lekki, and Ikoyi, and so on.
The issue is that, as she said, they've just completed 45 point something, kilometers. That's against 292. So it's just been scratched. From all indications, it's just been scratched. The essence of this is to have rail run like cabs, if you like, within the city, so that people can be connected within the city. That's what I saw in Europe, right? Just like you see taxi moving, you see rails go at the same time, simultaneously, and all that. So it's not for you. Abuja FCT didn't start today, right? We're even happy that this administration has gotten it up to this level that it is at the moment. And so we are going to take a short break. The discussion is on rail system in Nigeria and 5 years of Buhari administration. We'll take a short break. When we get back, the conversation continues.
Nigerians, coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide, don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long, live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
Let's do something more interesting. Let's sing.
Amazing moms who nurture the uniqueness in our kids while keeping them healthy and safe. So kids, stay indoors, wash your hands, and enjoy your favorite delicious Indomie noodles. Indomie noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19. A corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have our guests with us in the studios, and we're discussing 5 years of Buhari administration and the milestones in rail transport development and utilization. Let's bring in again Mane Ochuboju. Mane, well, on the one hand, we are seeing the growth in infrastructure, and there is no expectation that everything will be done in one day, everything will be done in one term, or even in 2 terms. But it's the accretion is what we are seeing. We are seeing, as I said, infrastructure. Are we also seeing a simultaneous development of the soft aspect of this, so that on the one hand, we don't run into our usual maintenance challenges? In Nigeria, it's very easy for us to build new things. Go back after a few years, you don't see anything again. So what, in your opinion, are we seeing in terms of the softer aspects of this to be sure that, yes, as these things are being laid, as they are being run, maintenance will go on? Soft aspects will also relate to, in those days, you used to have what they call rail police. I'm sure nobody knows about rail police these days. So what are we doing in terms of security? What are we doing in terms of security? What are we also doing in terms of personnel? The Nigerian Railway Corporation had, Engineer Ohiria will of course confirm this, one, the richest real estate in the entire country. And it was also the largest employer of labor other than in the formal sector other than agriculture. So are we seeing a movement towards this respect in a formalized manner, so that it's not just that we are building rail, we are building rail, we are building rail. If you don't have the soft aspect, the hard aspect you are building is likely not to be sustainable. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Kingsley, thanks for asking this question. You will notice in the previous, my previous response, I was very upset and very angry. You had to cross-examine me. Yes, on those hard infrastructure, the inefficiencies and the rot, the corruption of past, when you think of it, and as Madam Alice corroborated, investors coming to mislead us and not to do what they promised to do, it all makes one very upset if you look at the facts. And you will notice my friend Fidet did not contradict some of those criticisms. You'll notice that. He just morally overdid. Now, on the soft infrastructure, which you said, that gives me some joy. It gives me some joy because Nigerians, when we say Nigerians are 200 million, it also means 200 million of potential engineers, potential doctors, potential journalists that will turn out to be like Kingsley and Kirian, potential lawyers, potential doctors, potential administrators like Madam Ali. We are now grooming a handful. I use the word handful because the scope is not widened yet. Handful of rail engineers. The last time we had Engineering Day here, we celebrated it here in your studio. You saw Chidi was effusive about praises for engineers. We have engineers, greatly talented men. We have workshops. We have institute, Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology. They are training leaders. They are training managers. We have Marine Academy. We have the Transport University that is now at Daura. It's a concept that I recall the minister has always driven. In meetings and in project case examination, the first thing the man will ask them, are you going to train our engineers? You put it to them bluntly. What are you going to do? And then when they say, okay, we'll build university, we'll go and train your people, there are Nigerians training in China today. Oh yes, in large numbers to manage rail. And that's encouraging. We have other courses that they are going through. Even FIDET, with due respect to him, the Nigerian Railway Corporation itself, they are retraining. They are preparing for this century, though slowly as it were, but they are getting there. And that is encouraging. So that's some credit there. When the university picks up properly and begin to train properly, and the Nigerians training in China and other places are beginning to get involved in operation, in the technical management of railway, it will improve. But then there are other Nigerians that are being neglected. We have Nigerians in England, for example. In England, we are very familiar with, look at the railway lines in England, including the underground. At every strata, there are Nigerians. The Nigerians you see are the cleaners. No, there are Nigerians driving the railway line. I had friends, even when I was in Merino, we have friends who left Nigeria to go and drive rail in London. Even a female friend of mine drives a railway line in London. No disrespect to the women. That's to tell you how competent Nigerian engineers, drivers, rail operators are. My personal introduction to railway service, was by a Nigerian in England. He runs a railway consultancy firm. And we were in the university doing some work, postgraduate work as lawyers. He said, no, come. We don't need lawyers in fresh or big firms, in city firms. You, Nigerian lawyer, come and do some work for us. And that's how I got involved from England in railway management and consultancy. Not just England, America, and other places. And by the way, we have black people all over the world. Black life matters. If you look for great engineers, you don't need to look for Chinese. Go to Chicago, go to New York. You see black engineers there, bring them here. And you can even add the Caribbean. You can add Brazil. Half of Brazil are black men. Some of them speak Yoruba. Bring them. Cubans are black. Bring them. These are all soft engineering and software that we can apply.
Yeah, you see, this is becoming very interesting, as the time is running out. We would have expanded our horizon in this conversation. I had wanted to come to Europe, but I'm forced to return to Engineer Fidet because of the submissions by Mani himself. As a matter of fact, when Kisle was talking about Nigerian railway police and other soft aspect of it, we used to have Nigerian engineers who are in railway staff those days, and they configure all manner of things. They do reverse engineering. They're engaged in the maintenance of the locomotives and what have you. And again, when you talk about collaboration with other nations in terms of contract and what have you, China actually has proved to be the best for me because of what I've said. In the contract, they accept to train your men. They want you to be part of what they're doing. They did that in satellite, in the communication satellite. They trained over 100 Nigerian engineers who are today satellite engineers. So such should also happen in railway. So what I want you to talk about, Engineer Fidet Ohiria, is this. The Local Content Initiative, which of course is a presidential order, Order 5, are you taking cognizance of that in the entire thing you're doing? Because a time will come when you have nobody, no Chinese person to do your maintenance for you. Is it part of the total package?
Thank you. And as Moni said, I will start by the idea of getting people trained in China. And the people being trained in China are people who range from minimum 18, maximum 20, just left secondary school, and they are to be trained in transportation technology. And so far, you have about 150 Nigerians who are in the various university at technical school, technology colleges in China. And it was due to transparent and interest of Nigerians that those kids are there. What do I mean by that? The cost of doing that is not in the project. But the minister have to ensure that he talked to them and bluntly and told them, before now, you give people something, you give people this, I don't want anything from you. The money you would have given to me, take it and go and train people, go and train our children so that we will have peace and let the rail project move. That's why we are having that. That's how the same way we are getting the assembly plant, and at the same time the university. It's not in any of the bids. So after sitting down discussing with the contractor, and we ask them at least do corporate social responsibility, and that's how we have gotten there. That's in a nutshell, trying to localize the technology in Nigeria. It's only in rail industry that you have Nigerians. You see, when I joined Railway in 1987 as a graduate from Unilag, I did not just start work. I was trained for 2 years on various aspects of the rail industry. And that is how today, that is, those people we employed last time have not even been deployed. They are still undergoing training. And fortunately for us, in the contract, in constructing the rail, we have that service level agreement built into it that the Chinese will provide technical advice for us in 5 years on maintenance. And that's what we are doing in Kaduna, Abuja. And the operation, the movement of the train is being done by Nigeria, no Chinese involvement. But if we have a breakdown because of the equipment and because of the quick turnaround we require the Chinese to work with our men to do that. But as regards to train movement, the programming is fully done by railwaymen and Nigerians. Madam can testify that when they started the trial run on the light rail, based on the arrangement we have to send some of our staff up to a deputy director to go there and ensure we don't have problem. Because if it happens, nobody will know it's Federal Capital Territory. It is rail, they will call Nigerian Railway Corporation. And luckily enough, the minister has been relating with us at a very good time, and we are trying to ensure it is one Nigeria. We don't want to say, oh, you don't have power to do this, but how to make it work. That is our idea in the rail, and we are cooperating with them and ensuring that service is provided. Now that they have gotten more coaches in Abuja, as our own arrived, their own also arrived, you will see the operation getting better and getting better. And it's being done 100% by Nigerians. But you have the Chinese, because they have to provide meet up with the service level agreement, we have to keep them to imbibe and the technology, the Chinese technology, to our staff and Nigerians. And
all right,
Lagos,
thank you, Engineer Akira. We'll have to pause you there for a while because, of course, we're running against time at the moment. Iro Danfulo, you've listened to the other guests, right? And of course, yours is that you want a smoother operation of the rail system. Now you've been speaking about Abuja Kaduna rail. Have you ever used any other corridor? Have you traveled by rail in any other part of the country? If not, what you've heard so far from Engineer Okira, is it enough to convince you that all those challenges you talked about can be, tackled?
Yeah. First of all, I was been expecting the MD to respond on my first request of make sure that the scanning machines are repaired. They've been down for 2 years. He has not responded to that. I'm waiting for him to say, look, we are aware of these scanning machines. We are working on them. We are waiting for some spare parts. I mean, that's the first thing I wanted to hear from him. Okay. Now, secondly, I don't know who awarded the contract for the perimeter fence. That's the two fences on the left and on the right of the on the corridor. I'll tell you this: I travel across Zaria, Kaduna, Abuja every week, more than 3-4 times.
Yes.
So, first of all, that contract has not been completed, has been stopped for a very long time. To be precise, the quality of the job done there is very, very poor. To even a layman. You see them today putting a tipper of a sand, you will see them another 3 months. So I don't know if the Honourable Minister is listening to us. He should check who the contractors and make sure things have come back on, because several times I have been a living witness on the train. The train will hit animals like 10, 20 at a time because of lack of the perimeter fence.
Yeah. The point you just made now, and yes. Kirian, I don't know whether you and I were on set. There's been an explanation for that. I mean, it doesn't put away the fact that there's no perimeter fence. That the perimeter fence contract ought to have been awarded along with the construction of the tracks, but that now this is coming as an afterthought, as it were, because it is relevant and it is important that is done. But you are complaining from what you have seen about the quality of work that is being done in the meantime. We're going to return to Engineer Fidet Ohiria very quickly. Engineer Fidet, well, you have a lot on your plate to chew. Just responding to these issues very quickly that Iro has raised. But I have two other questions for you. I hope they're not too many. One, you in terms of maintenance and spares, you have your fabrication yard. Whom are you relying on, again, in order to achieve the objective of local content? Ajaokuta would have been fantastic. I don't know what linkages you have with the workshop in Ajaokuta, because the workshop, is said to be okay. So what linkages does the Railway Corporation have with Ajaokuta? That's one. Secondly, and this has also been a point that has been on for some years now, in terms of changing the legal framework, we know that there are constitutional obstacles, preventing state governments from participating in rail business. And then the other aspects about, reforming the transport sector, with particular reference, again, to rail, the matter has been there in the National Assembly. Are you just sitting back and saying, well, let the lawmakers do whatever they want to do, or the Nigerian Railway Corporation, along with other critical stakeholders, are moving ahead to lobby and ensure that this new legal order comes about? A number of questions that you have, very, very quickly. Linkages between Railway Corporation and Ajaokuta to achieve higher local content, plus a revised legal regime for the operation of a rail system in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. When we talk about the local content and referring to this production of spare parts, we require the basic thing, which mostly iron or plastic or a combination of metals. So we, luckily, the Itakbe, Abuja, Kaduna, and Ajaokuta, which is a major the steel factory, and the Alaja Steel are components of that rail corridor. So as we are moving along, I think if the government now take it upon to make sure that those industries also come upstream, so it will be easier to get the materials manufactured. But as I said earlier, to go into parts manufacturing is not so the businessman, he looks at it as not a very fast and quick win issue, because you have to get the plants, you have to get this, and you have to invest. But we know the present mentality of a Nigerian businessman today is invest today, get the profit yesterday. And it had to be deliberately done by either government providing the incentive for the people who will go into the parts and manufacturing the parts for not only for rail, but even for oil industry. So let's say we are on the right path, but at least try to have an assembly plant at Papalanto. At least when you have an assembly plant and you start producing the parts that you assemble within that place, you see some little bolt and nut and all these companies coming up. Like last time we wanted a part, we contacted the Foundation Engineering, and we are trying to encourage them to say, okay, you take this, and see if you can do samples for us, and we will patronize you. And they asked us to give commitment. I will say, we'll give their commitment. So it is not here, or neither there or there. About the law, it is good we talk about the law and review it. But as a person, as the managing director of Nigerian Railway, I'm saying even the law doesn't stop anybody. Lagos State came and we gave them permit to construct. Cross River, I think it's Cross River. They also came and they were permitted to do. Because
all right, once again, Engineer Ohira, we are pausing you. Sorry about that. We're just trying to manage time and also get more information from you. We have been on you for a while, and I'm sure you have really delivered in terms of your explanations. What have made, a point I've made so clearly now is the fact that, look, if any state government wants to embark on rail line business, you can do that. There's no constitutional, whatever it is, that cannot be taken care of. Provide transport system for your state, and people will be happy with you. On that note, I think, Kingsley, we have to call it a day.
Well, that's right. Just before we call it today, there are some tweets we'll run through very quickly, Kirian. let's take some of those tweets very quickly. Now, Mutana Farouk's tweet says that transportation is an integral sector that connects economic activities. Under President Muhammadu Buhari, now the sectors have been revitalized into walkable status. Kudos.
Godfrey Fregene, the rail development under President Buhari is one of the most cherished developments of his administration.
Now, also, we have this from Chris Simeon. It said the southern part of the country does not have sufficient rail lines and terminals. Federal government should construct more rails and terminals in the south to ease transportation.
Ali Tajuddin, to be honest, Baba has done well in this area, but Lagos-Ibadan standard rail lane should be extended to Shobo as well as to Yelori before Baba ends his tenure.
Akeju Olagbaju, the railroad and ancillary project master plan should be reviewed to allow or permit greater participation from the private sector. This is necessary for enduring operations and sustainability.
Well, let's say Ibrahim Abu Salam Bello, it's a commendable effort so far. PMB administration has shown serious commitment in the development of the rail sector.
Now, Dele Jack Solomon says 3 major rail projects inherited from previous administrations have been completed under the Buhari-led government. The government should also intensify efforts to complete others.
Let's also thank PSC Sam, Bietan SM, Cecilia Koroma, Ibu Godwin, and Jibrin Zago, Idris Yunusa. We don't have time to take your tweet set for today.
All right. It's on that note we'd like to appreciate all our guests who have been with us in the studios. First, thanks to Mrs. Alice Achu. She's the Acting Secretary of the Transport Secretariat of Federal Capital Territory. Thank you very much for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you for having me.
We also like to appreciate Iro Danfoloti, who is a regular trained user on the Abuja-Kaduna corridor. Thank you very much for your observations.
My pleasure.
We also like to thank Mane Ochubojo, a rail consultant and lawyer. Thanks a lot for your insight. And from Lagos, we're joined via Skype by engineer Fidet Ohiria. Ohiria, of course, is Managing Director of Nigerian Railway Corporation. Thank you very much, Engineer Fidet, for your contributions. We always appreciate your insights on rail development in the country. Okay, so that does it for us today on Good Morning Nigeria. As always, we appreciate your being with us. The program returns tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, and in line with the season, stay safe and be well. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kirian Umayo. Have a great day.